Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. I want to echo the gratitude to your families. I tell people all the time, yes, of course, thank your veteran, but take an extra step and thank spouses, parents, children. It truly is a team effort for our all-volunteer force, so thank you all for being here. I grew up the son and grandson of Navy enlisted chiefs in Jacksonville, Florida, and then defected and spent 23 years in the Army. So bear with me. I want to go back to the 6,200 sailor shortage and just ask you a few questions on that. How long, and forgive me if I missed it, but how long in the timeline to fill that shortage? What percentage of the overall, of the overall force does that represent? And then just some detail on is that across the board? Is that certain types of ships? Is that older versus newer, where technology is filling in certain types of systems, subsurface, surface? Can you just kind of flesh that out for me for a minute?
I'll have to get back to you on the percentage. So I can tell you of my between 140 and 150,000 sailors in the Pacific, 6,200, if we take 60% of that, it's mine. So that's the applicability. It's balanced across all of the forces.
Okay.
And different ships have different sizes, so it's kind of difficult. We don't just say, hey.
Forgive me, Admiral, for interrupt. Is it, what I want to get at is there a certain rating? Is there a certain kind of low density, high demand type of rating that you're having a hard time with, or is it kind of spread across the force?
Yeah, I would say it's spread evenly. There's critical NECs or capabilities that each of the ship needs. One of those that was called out in the report was quartermasters, that there's not enough at sea, that there's too many ashore. So we review all that. When we push ships out, they must have the correct amount of those critical capabilities on board or they don't go.
How long has this shortage persisted? Has this been for decades? Has it been for years? Was it a result, just to be candid, of sequestration and shortfalls in the last 10 years? Like what's just very quickly on the nucleus of the problem?
Yeah, I would say the history is the shortfalls persisted for a number of years, but I will tell you in the past 4 or 5, we're working, as Admiral Grady identified, in the correct direction. So back in 2000 and I think it was 12, the number was 260 on a DDG. And today that number, the requirement is up at 315. So it's persisted for a while. We continue to get there. We thank you for your support. We've added 7,500 alone last year in the budget. We couldn't have done that without the teamwork that you provide. So on the right track. I think we get there in 23 or to get to 100%.
But if we don't continue the current level of funding, obviously, then that's going to change that trajectory.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Okay.
You're helping us buy our way out of that hole, but then the new ships will be coming, and so we'll have to continue to demand the fleet for the new ships as well.
Okay. Admiral, you mentioned, you mentioned that you had actually stopped some deployments. Ships weren't ready, fleets weren't ready. Operationally, what couldn't you do when that happens? What risk did you take in your AO when that doesn't happen?
We took risk in the form of a single deployment to the Western Pacific in support of the or deployment to the South Pacific Islands that we were supporting in conjunction with our Coast Guard partners. That's one. I reduced the ship that was supposed to go to the Rim of the Pacific exercise. And then we took risk with regard to surge forces that if crisis were to have broken out, they would have needed additional training before they could have gone. That's the risk. Admiral Davidson also reduced one of the missions that was previously in my job jar based on the current environment. He removed that again for now. The enemy gets a vote, so those could easily come back if the times were different.
So I just wanted to get, in my remaining time, as my understanding, U.S. PACOM sets the requirement, but then also sets the fill. And that's a carve-out. Is that still the case? I know some other members, my colleagues, had gotten at that. But is that basically the plan going forward? I just find that coming from my background to be odd.
And that's actually not accurate. So,
okay.
So PACOM sets the requirement. This is what I need to do the missions that the President has assigned him. when each year the Navy produces a sourcing solution, or here are the forces that we will deploy in the next year. What we have pushed forward now over the past couple of years is a supply-based model. So there are many requirements as set by Admiral Davidson and the other combatant commanders that we currently are not filling. The Secretary of Defense adjudicates those differences between what is needed by the combatant commander and what has been put forward by the services. So that's really the accurate model and the way it works.
Would you be able to provide for the record what isn't being filled then? I mean, what the gaps are going forward in that supply-based model?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Admiral. I yield back.